In this episode of The Tech John, we discuss Roblox requiring 9-year-olds to submit video age verification, not upgrading tech as often as companies would like, insurance companies saying AI tech is too risky, and Black Friday tech we might pick up over the holiday weekend. We've got all this and more for you in episode 204 of The Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. I don't know if you can read my shirt, but who made the potato salad? Thanksgiving is not my favorite holiday, but it's just a time to relax and just eat some good food. So I always bring out my yearly shirt to remind people what time it is. You just can't eat everybody's
It's a legitimate
food.
question. Legitimate question. It should be, you should have a list though. Potato salad, macaroni and cheese should be underneath potato salad. Because though I think those are two things. Like anybody can kind of do the turkey, but the potato salad and the mac and cheese, I need to know who's on carb duty.
Particularly, I look for a potato salad, like either just potato salad or deviled eggs. So that's my main thing. Now you're right about the macaroni and cheese, but my main thing is like, who made the potato salad?
Right.
Those two dishes, they can be made so many different ways. So you got to know who makes it. Like some
and
folks
they can go so wrong.
It's like, why do you have raisins in it? As compared to folks who don't. And then with the mac and cheese, it's like, some folks will, they put cream cheese in it and it's kind of milky. And some folks it's thick to where you put a fork in it, can pick up literally the entire dish with one fork. So
the brick.
It just depends on who's cooking it. So, but so folks, you heard me say episode 204. And if you were paying attention last week, I also said episode 204. I don't know why, because I was wrong. It was 203 last week. And I think I even had 203 written in the show notes and still said 204. So yeah, we have a 204. This is the real 204. I checked to make sure when we were going through it. So I apologize for that. But we're going to go ahead and jump into some of these tech stories today. Steph, I'm glad you are here because I wanted to talk to you about this one. I've been waiting since I saw this. But Roblox is requiring 9-year-old children, nine years old, not even preteens yet, 9, to submit a video selfie for age verification. And I'm like, what? 9-year-olds?
I feel like they're doing this just to be ridiculously over the top, to try to maybe force the hand of Apple and Google to do the verification on the phone side, because this is insane. Like nobody's doing this, and because we have AI tools now that can make you look like a 9-year-old, it's not going to work because you're still going to get people misusing and abusing this verification system the same as any other verification system they might try to set up. So I think it's just, like I said, I think it's a very reactionary thing that, because I think they're expecting parents to go crazy. You're not getting my 9-year-old's face. My 9-year-old's not doing that. So then they could say, well, then you guys need to pressure Apple and Google to do the verification on the platform side. So it's just a really silly. It's so bad to be silly at this point, because it's just not a viable solution for the problem, at least on Roblox's platform.
And that's what it is. It's like, I agree with Steph wholeheartedly. Roblox don't want to do it, so they're trying to throw up some crazy requirement that's going to cause a lot of buzz, may cause a lot of conversations, a lot of back and forth on social media. So then, politicians can pick up on it and say, hey, pictures, kids, videos. Nah, we don't want to do that. But I don't know if it's going to work, because if the porn industry is fighting, I don't know how the game industry is going to hold up, because the porn industry, they the same way. They're like, nah, we don't want to do it. And like, so much so to where they've turned off their access based on what state you're from, based on the laws, rules, and regulations. They've said, we don't want to do it so much. You just can't watch this video from Georgia,
Right.
right?
Right.
Versus trying to actually work together to fix the problem, right? So my point is, if they fighting with it, Roblox and they little a video, it's like, all right, man, good luck.
And that's not even and for this particular instance, the Roblox instance, neither one of those solutions works because unless you're just not going to let 9-year-olds on Roblox at all, because if you're doing verification on the smartphone side, on the hardware side, Roblox is still an app for children. So you're still going
Mhm.
to be able to download the app whether the 9-year-old is verified or not, they still get to download the app. This also doesn't solve the problem of the content
Mhm.
on Roblox. This is only for the chat,
Only for the chat.
so that they can't chat with people they don't know and stuff like that. But the content on Roblox is objectionable AF. So like you're not really protecting young eyes from much just
Mhm.
by doing this. I mean, I guess, if there was a way to keep them from chatting with people they didn't know, this might help that process a little bit, but ultimately, like I said, this sounds more like a publicity stunt than an actual intentional effort to help kids on the platform.
So I thought that until I started reading more into it, they're already rolling this out. So
Mhm.
it could no, it could be both and. It could be like, this is
Yeah.
nuts. We're going to roll it out because the law says we've got to do something, and this is the something we're going to do, and maybe the reaction will be such that, whoa, 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 we need to figure something else out. But I do know this: you're not going to pressure Apple or Google, especially not Apple. You're not going to pressure them into doing anything that they do not want to do. What will make Apple respond to this is if the law tells them that they have to respond to it. I don't see anything
But
other than the law telling
what
them to.
parent is letting their 9-year-old submit a video to
I
Roblox?
would hope,
Like,
I would
I
hope
would hope none.
none of them are.
Yeah.
But what my gut tells me is there's a whole lot of 9 year, and it's not just 9 years old is the youngest that you could be. This is 9 through 16, or actually 9 through 21, I believe that they're doing this for. Or 9 and up. They're trying to put you into categories like you might be 9 to 12 or 13 to 16 or 17 to 20. I think they're trying to put you in buckets like
Yeah,
that.
it's 9 to 21. Yeah,
So
definitely.
so
That's
so they're
crazy.
ultimately trying to get everyone with this, but it does bring up a bigger question, a bigger discussion of, should this type of verification be done on the phone? Should Apple and Google ultimately have to bite the bullet for this? Now, when I say that, I am certain that they will, neither one of them will do it willingly. It will be because the law has changed and said that they must do it, is the only reason that I see them getting in front of it. Or they'll do it like what Apple does or what Google does. The law changes, but before the law is implemented, oh, you know what, we're going to do this because we think this is better for our users. Like you would have had a choice a year to 18 months later once that law gets enacted. So that's kind of how Apple rolls. Google tends to follow suit on that kind of stuff. So I am concerned, not concerned. I do wonder if you will see a bigger push for that. There are some state laws that they want it to be done on the phone, just because that's the easiest place to do it, to make everybody have to adhere to what the phone says
Right.
as compared to individual authentication methods.
But it still doesn't buy you anything in a case like this.
Mhm.
Roblox is an app that allows children to be on the app. So if you're verifying my age on my phone, I still get to download Roblox.
Mhm.
And there's nothing Apple can do to limit chat within the app because it's not their app. So, the idea that like I agree with you, Rob, that the device manufacturers probably should be doing something, um but that's not going to be the blanket catch all for everything either, because again, in this instance, with Roblox and probably a lot of other games and a lot of other apps as well, that doesn't buy you anything because Roblox is quote unquote made for kids, or at least they allow children as young as 9 on the platform anyway. So none of that um age verification on your iPhone would help you once you've downloaded Roblox onto the phone. So it wouldn't prevent you from downloading Roblox. It wouldn't prevent you from going into chat on once you're in the app. It wouldn't prevent you from like visiting it. So it doesn't actually do anything. I mean, ultimately, and I'm going to go back to what I say all the time. Ultimately, the parents have to get involved, and you have to sit down. If you got to sit there and watch what your kid is doing on the app, or understand those parental controls, and do spot checks if they've been in that corner by themselves for too long. Pick up the phone and see where they what little room is you in? What little room did you
Mhm.
create? Like what is like you have to be an engaged parent in cases like this, because there just isn't a technical solution that covers all of the bases of potential pitfalls and danger and harm on the app. There just isn't a technical solution that's going to cover all of that. The parent has to be the one to say, all right, you can only play Roblox on the tablet while you're sitting in the room in the kitchen with me, or at the like there have to be some kind of rules where you are aware of what they're doing on the app, where they're going, how they're playing, who they're engaging with. Understand those parental controls, whatever they are, even if they're not the best, they still need to be engaged to be effective. So it sucks, because I talk to parents all the time that want the answer, and there just is no, and they want the tech companies, they're barking at why these tech companies, and why don't the government, and why don't and ultimately it really, the buck stops with parental involvement and understanding of the platform, and that's it. There's no magic bullet for that.
Agreed, of course. I my question to between Apple and Google and Roblox and Fortnite and all these other, Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, all these games to where parents question, what there's questions on whether it's
Hmm.
adult content or who your kid is interacting with while they're playing the game, right? My question that would be, well, the question to who should be responsible for, you know, um, what's the word? Verification. Well, who owns the content, right? Who
Hmm.
owns the content? If Roblox owns the content that the kids are whatever on the app, then to me, it's like, all right, well, you have to control who accesses your content. Now, people say, well, you use the phone to access the content, so therefore that should be the gateway,
Mhm.
and that would, like Rob, you said, that would make more sense. Well, that would be a logical argument because all you got to do is age verify the phone. In theory, if you just age verify the phone, then everything you're accessing past that is legit because you've already age verified at the device issue. But again, Stephanie just outlined why that won't never work, you know,
Mhm.
so then it's like, all right, well, past the least resistance, we can't necessarily use that, well, who owns the content? Like if Roblox, if a person uses $1 billion and buys $1 billion worth of Roblox, is Roblox going to, say, nah, well, we got to give half of that to Apple because Apple did do the age verification or Google did do the age verification of this. So, oh, you spend $1 billion, we're gonna give you Roblox is gonna gladly take all that money, fight with what they got to give over to Google and Apple in the first place, and go on about their way. So it's like, all right, if that's the case, then you gotta lock down
They're
access
responsible.
at the content level. Who owns
Mhm.
the content?
Yep. Yep. I agree. I mean, the device verification is the quick and dirty, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? And it's a way for them to put the responsibility back on somebody else. But yeah, if you want people, if you want to convince people that your app is safe for kids, make your app safe for kids.
Mm, right.
Period.
And then I'll just also a final thing with Roblox and their content. The reason why I think Roblox specifically is fighting so hard because they if they have to do the work to verify at the age level, there are some places in Roblox that kids won't be able to go. And they want the kids to be able to go everywhere because the content is user generated, right?
Mhm.
users are one creating these suspect rooms that the kids are then going into, and then all this other conversations and stuff happens, right? Well, if Roblox took more responsibility of who can create and who can moderate, but they don't want to do all that because that's
It's
too
more
much work.
money. It
It's
costs more
more
money.
money. You got
Yeah.
to hire more people, and it's like, nah. We didn't even want to have this conversations. Let Apple and Google do it because we don't want to be bothered.
Mm-hmm.
And Trailbot makes a good point. He says that he thought, and this may be from years ago, that you could just download Roblox on a computer without even having to have admin privileges, and you can do that. So here's the thing, and we want to be specific on this. This is not verification for all of Roblox. It is just verification for the chat, which is where things can go very left very, very quickly, because you could just talk to anyone on this platform right now. So that's where they're trying to put wrappers around, because that's what the government is telling them that they have to put wrappers around. And Terrance, I did want to ask you this, because you are the one that has, children that might actually still play this game. Would you allow any of your kids to do a facial recognition, verification to determine their age in order to have chat on Roblox?
No, because I'm scared Roblox won't secure it.
And they're not going to.
Right.
There absolutely is a
Right.
privacy nightmare, yo.
Right. If I trusted that Roblox would secure that data, I would. But history has shown Roblox don't want to.
Right.
So it's like, why even bother? And
Mm-mm.
as a person, as a parent who has a 8-year-old who is playing Roblox, we turn off the chat. You can't chat, bro. Sorry.
That's it. That's it.
Sorry.
That's it. And for the life of me, like I don't mean to demean parents that maybe aren't as technologically savvy. I mean, the three of us sitting here have, decades of technical experience and education and background. So I'm definitely not trying to, shame anybody, but at the same time, regardless of your technical acumen or understanding, you have to learn how to do these things. Like, if you have a kid that you want to be protected, you say you want to be protected on these platforms, you have to learn how to get in them settings. And none of that stuff is fail safe. None of it's a guarantee, but it's a start, and you work with what you got. And Google is free. So how do I set the parental controls on my kid's Roblox game? Like, honestly, it literally just starts with you taking the initiative and the onus on yourself as the parent to figure out what makes sense. And I know it's like, again, I tell parents all the time, I'm like, it's work. I get it. It's a lot of work that you didn't have to do when you was growing up and your parent didn't have to do for you. But we're in a different time, and this is what it is. And go ahead, Terrance.
No, I was gonna say a phrase that I live by. I have some quotables that I live by. One of them is, you make time for the things you want in life.
Yeah, you
For
do.
everything else, you make excuses.
Amen.
People will figure out how to hack booking.com and kayak in order to find the best deal for their girlfriend or they homies trip to Mexico or to the Maldives or wherever. You'll figure out how to get in Jamaica to get down to the dudes and rub the clay on your butt. You'll figure that out. But when it comes to the
that was
Roblox,
very specific.
I'm saying, but have you seen them though? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Right?
but
the fact that you brought it up, though,
I'm just saying, look, listen, but you'll figure it out, right?
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
When it comes to locking down your kids' Instagram, oh no, yes you do. You just don't want to,
and you can figure it out. Exactly. If you can figure out how to find the coupon code for the Amazon product you want or whatever, like it just has to be a priority for you. And again, it's not the ultimate solution. These companies can do a much better job of creating these types of controls that you can, and maybe if you don't think your kid is mature enough to navigate a platform like Rob, maybe they don't get to play Roblox. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if all their friends are on there, maybe you have to tell them, like, you know what, you got caught the other time chatting with this person and I didn't like that. And, until I feel like you're mature enough to handle and come to me if somebody you don't know tries to talk to you on the game, and, we can figure it, like, maybe your kid just doesn't get to play it. You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to be so, their kid's friend these days, and doesn't want to disappoint them. And, oh, they get so mad and I don't want to take the phone away. Listen, I I don't, if that's the case, then I don't know what to tell you.
No, you're definitely preaching to the choir. My gut would tell me is that the parents who are hearing you, Steph, many of them are not the parents that we need to be worried about. The fact that they are hearing you, they are aware. I can't just let my kid go do stuff just all buck wild on the internet without actually paying attention to what it is that they're doing. Where my concern is, and it's maybe not for the 9-year-old or the 10-year-old, but definitely, you know what? Kids are way more advanced today than they were back when I was a kid. But I'm not thinking them. I'm thinking like that 11, 12, 13-year-old. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that have enough computer skills. So we're going to figure out, oh, wait a minute. You just need to verify me. I need to look like I'm 26 in order to have the conversation I want to have. All right, let me see. Can I set up a virtual camera in OBS? And instead of using my video camera, I use the virtual camera with a filter that makes me look like I am 10 years older than I am.
Listen, or there's going to be some grown up that's going to find a child filter, because TikTok has a teen filter on it that made me look like I was about 12, 13 years old.
And
like,
you know how they can, I might need to cut you off, but I did. And you know how they can get so good? Because everybody puts their face and puts their body on it. Let the app scan your face so you can look like you're doing it all day long. I see them on Facebook all day long. And then you wonder how somebody fooled your kid into thinking that they were a kid because you on Facebook, look how cute I look as a nurse's aide or a sexy nurse's aide. It's like, all right, well, you not continue. I'm sorry.
Again, another oddly specific example, but no, but there are. I mean, like we are living in a time now where you literally cannot believe your own eyes on the internet. There are filters that can make anybody look like anybody. So that idea is out the window. There are, young people that are being trafficked right now, whose job it is to lure other young people into situations. So your kid might actually be talking to another 9-year-old or another 10-year-old, but that 9 or 10-year-old is out here being trafficked and being forced to drag these kids into some sort of web of, trafficking. And, so all of that is just, with all of that, the thing that is going to combat that is the conversation you're having with your child on a regular basis about what can happen online. Like, you need to be aware of all of these different things, all of the technical parental controls and verifications in the world is not going to save your kid if there's another kid on the other end of that game talking to them, or they think it's another kid on the other end of that game talking to them, and gets them sucked into some mess. You know what I mean? All the parental controls in the world ain't going to save them from that. You are going to save them from that, letting them know that, hey, if you don't know this person in real life, you can't trust anything they tell you on the internet. Don't give them your information. Don't give them your address. Don't talk to them. Don't, like, this. It's not an overreaction to say that you literally cannot trust anything you see online, like nothing. And you need to help your kids understand that as well, because that's the only thing that's going to save them. They need to have that sense. They can play, but there needs to be a healthy sense of skepticism. I'm not going to say fear, but a healthy sense of skepticism when they're encountering these other people, to say, wait a minute, I don't know them. That's a stranger. Like, maybe I shouldn't be. And why is this stranger asking me for my address? Or why did they just ask me to send them a picture in the chat of me with, that doesn't sound right. Like, your kid needs to have that understanding and that level of awareness of what can happen on the internet. And you're the person that has to give it to them. You know what I mean? Because they're not getting it from anywhere else. Unfortunately, I do my best with my little "till death do you tweet," but but I'm one person, and there's other organizations and groups and websites where they, you can get this kind of information, but your kid's going to need to get that information from you.
Yeah, Steph, you talk very passionately about this and clearly know a lot about it. You know what you should do? You should like talk to kids and parents.
I should write a book.
You write a book. Tell them how to keep their digital footprint from kicking them in the behind.
Yeah, listen. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to do the Lord's work. But yeah, all of those things need to happen. Roblox needs to do a better job. Apple needs to do a better job. Google needs to do all the technical things that need to happen also. But at the end of the day, you gotta get your kid right. You gotta get your kid right.
So as we get into this next story, it's basically it's folks are holding on to their devices longer than they ever have, and some would say that it's costing the economy. But Terrance, my gut tells me that you have some alternative ideas about why they trying to do this.
Not really. I just thought I saw this story and they're talking about how companies, mainly companies, not necessarily just you, like I ain't upgrading this year because I don't need no new phone, and I don't need, the economy be driven by people buying iPhones, which I believe. But I thought this story was interesting because it's not just individuals as to how holding on to devices affects the economy. It's more like businesses, like Rob, you was talking at the top of the show, about how no, I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about how there are some companies to where there are people that work at the company that's like 60, 70 years old. And the reason why they're there so long is because back in the day when they was 20 at the company, they built this software, they built this app, and the company just kept using it and kept using it and kept using it, so much so to where it's like if this person who created this app or created this service dies, they can't get in, they can't access, they don't know what's going
And
on. But
it's written in Fortran
Fortran,
or
Pascal.
C, not even C plus,
Yes,
but C. And don't nobody else
Modular
know that.
two.
Right. Don't nobody else know that, John, but them.
right. So all of that to say, in addition,
Cobalt.
right. In addition to people holding on to their iPhones or their Androids or their Galaxies a little bit longer, by companies holding on to technology and not necessarily upgrading as soon as new things come out, that could in some cases be affecting how effective employees and companies are. Because if you got to take time to learn a new service after all these years and you got all these employees to be on ramped to this new software, that slows down in productivity and effectiveness of employees. And I thought that was interesting because, again, like Rob kind of alluded to, I was like on the, yeah, see, I'm upset that our whole entire economy is based on whether or not we buy the new iPhone 18 Galaxy Pro Max, whatever the case may be. But actually, it's like, oh, okay, I can kind of get how companies, them holding on to like large sums. If we're talking about servers, we're talking about networking equipment. We're not just talking about, the little laptop that the company gives you. We're talking about big pieces of technology and how they, as they are holding on to it, that's reducing productivity, which could be affecting the economy. So I just thought that was interesting. Just wanted to turn that over to y'all, see what y'all think about it.
Go ahead, Rob. I'll let you go. I
So,
have some.
so I thought you was gonna go down the route of they want us to keep spending money as far as like the
I
phone
started that
manufacturers.
route. I started that way.
But there is a lot of truth to this about the corporate side of it. I used to work for an organization that builds chemical reactors all over the world to make methane, to make chloroform, to make all different types of chemicals. And the thing about chemicals is that the chemical nature of chemicals doesn't really change over time. It's like the things you need to mix together to get chemical A are today are the things you need to mix together to get that same chemical 100 years from today. So if you've built a system that is really, really good at allowing these reactors to mix chemicals in the way that they need to mix them, you're not necessarily trying to change it just because there's software updates and stuff like that. So we would actually see, organizations that would have, and this is in like the late 90s into the early 2000s, they're using like, like OS2, they're using, stuff that's programmed in COBOL and Fortran, these really old archaic things, because it was literally built in the 70s and the 80s, and it never got updated. They just kept updating it with the people who actually knew how to do that stuff, because it's like, if you have to go to a whole new system, you literally have to go to a whole new system. So there's that part of it. The other side of this is that, and I think you were right in saying this, they want to keep, want us to keep spending money. It's like, I was just reading an article today to where they think that we're going to have 6G by 2030. That's like 4 years from now. So we'll be going to 6G. Well, here's the thing with 6G. 6G literally requires 4 to 5 times the bandwidth that 5G does. Well, if it requires that, they're not going to take that away from 5G. They need to make 5G backward compatible, but they're going to take it away from 4G. They've already gotten rid of CDMA. So basically, what they're saying is that eventually you're going to have to upgrade. And it used to be back when the iPhone, not when it first came out, probably around the iPhone 4, you got into a 2-year upgrade. You'd get your phone, you wouldn't get the one the next year, but then the year after that, you would upgrade. It became a 2-year window. And what's starting to happen now with phones is phones are becoming like PCs, to where it used to be that when you would get a PC, you might have a 4-year window on it. Well, PCs, one of the problems that we have with why so many people are still running Windows 10 and can't run in Windows 11, because you get a PC, and as long as you're not doing new stuff on that PC, 8, 9, 10 years later, that PC still runs as effectively as it did 8, 9, 10 8, 9, 10 years previously, as far as running the same type of stuff. Now, you're not going to run new stuff on it, but if it's the old stuff, it tends to work pretty well. So now you have these companies that they would like to upgrade, and they want you to pay more money to get the new hardware to run the new stuff, so they can charge you more money for the new stuff that they want only the new hardware can run. So you get into this vicious circle, and there are a lot of folks. I would imagine you're going to, over time, you're going to continue to see the window or the lifespan of an iPhone, of an Android, of a higher end Android phone. I think you're going to see those continue to drop to where it is now. It used to be like 22 months. I want to say now it's 29 months. So we haven't gotten quite to 3 years yet, but I would imagine that before the end of this decade, it'll be over 3 years on a device, because how much additional stuff can that device do if everything that you're accessing is in the cloud anyway? Get me to the cloud and everything, all the processing is done there. Do I really need to have the new hotness on the device itself? And it's like, really, what are phones doing every year when they upgrade? They give you better cameras, but other than that, you don't get a whole lot.
Nothing. Yeah, I was reading this article, and it's probably going to sound a bit counterintuitive, coming from somebody that has a tech podcast, but the whole tone of the article, number one, made it seem like it was our fault that we're going to lose this productivity, and that the economy is not going to, be as strong because we're not buying these devices. Like, and honestly, where's the limit as X approaches enough? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like, when are we going to say we have enough bandwidth? We're doing enough with these devices. Technology is, it's just, we have enough electronic waste in this across the globe that we don't know what to do with. The environmental impact is enough, and I, don't get me wrong, I love technology. I love all the fun and cool and exciting and innovative things that it can do. But, like, when is the limit, as X approaches enough? When are we going to reach that limit? And obviously the answer is we're not. We're going to keep iterating until we die and the planet explodes or whatever. But, again, the overall tone of this article made it seem like we, the consumers, and even if you consider a company a consumer,
Mm-hmm.
were at fault for
Mm-hmm.
not continuing to buy into
Invest.
this
Mm-hmm.
continuous churn of electronic products. And it just, that's not the case.
It,
You know
Right.
what I mean? If you don't need it, you don't need it. I don't think we lose that much. And if we do, so what? Like, honestly, like you can't watch Netflix in 4K. Like, what is the, harm of that? It just when is enough enough is I guess what I'm saying.
I think we're in interesting times right now, and I think that the Windows 10, Windows 11, I wouldn't call it a debacle, but there are an enormous number of people who are still using Windows 10 and have no intention on buying a new PC simply so they can run Windows 11. The version of Windows 10 is you can still get updates on it through, I believe, next October. So folks are saying, I'll worry about it next October. But you're starting to see Linux distribution downloads are skyrocketing right now. When you start to look at Chromium OS, people are literally, turning their old laptops that only could run Windows 10 and turning them into, in some cases, very
Chromebook.
high powered Chromebooks. So
Hmm.
I think what the market is saying is that, yes, Microsoft and other companies, we see that you want us to buy these super high end PCs, but I don't need to do any of that stuff yet. Like, Microsoft has a real problem right now. Microsoft came out with these Copilot Plus PCs, and they're not flying off the shelves. Folks
Hmm.
are like, I don't need to do that stuff locally on my PC. I'll just do it in the cloud. So I think that, a company like Microsoft is going to rethink what they think a Copilot Plus PC is over time. Maybe it doesn't change. Maybe they just extend things out a little bit longer, but you see them all the time giving people who do not have Copilot Plus PCs the ability to do some Copilot Plus PC things as long as that stuff is done up in the cloud, because they know it's like, we tried to make them upgrade. They just aren't upgrading. So it becomes, I think, at some point a circle, a cycle, so to speak. How do you get someone to upgrade the hardware when they're saying, I don't want to upgrade my hardware. I don't want to pay you more money to upgrade to do the same thing that I'm doing today. But then you've got the company saying, but I can't give you the things of tomorrow because we can't do the things of tomorrow on the hardware that you had from 8, 9, 10 years ago. So I get where the companies are coming from. I just don't honestly know, how this is going to turn out. I think that we are, to answer your question, Steph, when is enough going to be enough? It will never be enough. We will always
Yeah.
Well,
continue
so
to
it
increase.
And
depends.
that's the bad
Yeah.
part.
But so it, it I don't wholeheartedly believe that, because enough is enough when it comes to climate change. Ain't nobody innovating for that. So I think what will the switch will have to flip is on what is enough and never enough. Is smartphones, where we are with smartphones and personal technology, enough? Probably. What ain't, what we could be innovating and trying to iterate and try to bring new technology is how we're going to save the climate, how we're going to reduce e-waste, right? How we're going to
Hmm.
reduce methane gas coming from all these cows that we eat all this beef from, right? How we're going to reduce polluting the water any further than we already are. You know what I'm saying? How are we going to how are we going to iterate on reducing CO2 emissions? Ain't nobody working on that stuff, right? So I think enough could be enough if we decided to focus our this ain't enough on good stuff, right? On
Right.
positive things. But
Right.
the problem with that is the good stuff don't bring in that profit.
So
And
here's the
That's
that's
thing.
the problem.
so
I
terrible.
will challenge that to this extent. To say is inclusive of Earth, there's a whole lot of people who are working on climate change. It just ain't happening
Sure.
here. This is this is it's not happening here. It's not happening in the United States. So it's a us here in this part of North America, because it ain't even all of North America. It's our part of it that is not that is not working on it. And I think what's going to happen is that companies are going to have to start thinking about this before the government decides to do something. A lot of times you try to wait, let's see what the government does and then we'll react to it. This is going to start costing these companies money if they don't do something. They need more power. They got to have more power to run the models of tomorrow. And I think what two things will happen. They're going to need more power in the short term over the next probably 6 to 10 years they're going to need more power. But as these LLMs get better, because that's what we're really talking about. We're talking about large language models. Once they get better and once they get more defined on what they do, it won't be one LLM that you can just ask any question to and it can theoretically give you an answer. It'll be, here's an LLM that was built specifically for Domino's Pizza to do something for Domino's Pizza, and that's all that it does. It doesn't need access to everything else. So when you're asking it questions, it's only asking questions based off of a limited data set, and it doesn't need as much power and it's just more efficient. I think that we are in the process of getting there to where you're going to see the LLMs actually require less power. But there will be more of them. So you're still going to need the data center. So like, I just want to be clear. It's like, I think that a large part of Earth is really thinking about climate change, because there's a whole lot of Earth that basically, if the water raises, a whole lot of people are going to be displaced. That is not necessarily if you live in Miami or Louisiana, you can have some problems, but if you live in Nevada, you're good.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't have a ton of faith or confidence in what's happening currently. But yeah, it just, I don't know. I just think we need to rethink how we think about advancements in innovation.
Right. And then what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do we stop buying the technology that's not useful, and then companies be like, oh, well, they ain't buying phones no more, let's focus on landfills or something, you know what I'm saying? Something like that, or will companies be like, you know what? What's more important? Landfills. Let's work on
No,
landfills.
they're never
then
going to do
so that's
that.
what,
Absolutely not.
They
right? And I
will
don't think
win.
we gonna stop buying smartphones every
No,
other,
we ain't going to do that either.
right?
Psychology won't let us, and advertisers and all that stuff. Yeah.
No, here's where I'm at. I absolutely do believe that companies are going to absolutely focus on climate when it is cost beneficial for them to do so. Right now, a lot of companies that are doing it's the early stages. We can't, I don't want to make $2 at the end of the year for the dollar invested today. I want to make $1 by the end of the month for the dollar invested today. That's how companies tend to run. So I think that when they get to the point to where, you know what, we can make a whole lot of money doing this. I was having a conversation probably in the last 6 weeks or so when we were talking about just actually reclaiming batteries out of EVs. Instead of it's you literally, it's almost as cost efficient to take a battery out of an old EV and strip it for parts and then reuse all of those rare earth metals than it is to dig in the ground and get new ones. It hasn't crossed over yet, but I think once it gets to the point to where, wait a minute, we can make way more money pulling the stuff out of existing batteries than actually having to go into the ground and pull it up. That's when it'll change. So,
but to your point, Rob, how do they figure out if I can make more money off of reclaiming the batteries? If somebody else is making a whole lot of money reclaiming the batteries out of the OVs, and they making a bunch of money. Oh, let me go make some more money too. And I think that's because us consumers are not patronizing, right, for lack of a better term, the companies that are making a buttload of money reclaiming batteries from EVs. Like, it's like, again, which one does the money come first, or the change come first and then the money follow?
The visionary comes first. It says, you know what, I think we can make more money by pulling this stuff out of existing batteries than we can go by digging, by buying land and digging holes in it and mining the stuff. So companies, they're, and some of these companies are actually big, but they're relatively small compared to the mining industry. But they're showing that, yeah, it's, this is like 92% efficient. If we put 100 pounds of XYZ in this battery, we can get out 92 pounds of it. That 92 pounds that we get out of that battery, the cost of us to do that costs less than getting 92 pounds out of the ground. So I think that when more people say, more companies say, oh, you know what, I can make more money doing this, that's when it'll change. Not because they care about the environment. That might have been the reason the original company did it. But eventually when it becomes, oh, we can make more money doing it this way than doing it that way, that's when I think it's going to ultimately happen. Or war could cause it to happen.
Well, that part.
There's always that part, we need, it's too
choice.
costly to go take the land, so we need to figure something else out. There's those kind of things. So like I said, I don't think that, I'm taking altruism out of it. For me, it is, how can I make $1 tomorrow for the dollar invested today most effectively? And if it's pulling rare earth metals out of batteries, then we'll do that. If until that actually is less expensive than it is to pull it out of the ground, we're going to still pull a lot of the stuff out of the ground. And I don't know how we got on that, but it is apparently is a good conversation because we've been doing it for like 17 minutes. So y'all, there is a story here that I looked up, and this one is really, really interesting to me. So having come from the software industry, when you build software, and I'm not talking about like game developers on iPhone and Android, I'm talking about big enterprise software. You literally insure that software, because if you have a company that's going to buy that software and they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on that software, or billions, or whatever the case that they're spending on it, and something breaks and it's fault, it faults, and it's the fault of the software manufacturer, that software manufacturer wants to literally have insurance so that, hey, if something bad happens, you've insured me so we can still continue to do business and won't be sued out of existence if we mess up something at Amazon, if we mess up something at Google, if we mess up something at Microsoft. So they get insurance and they put it on these big enterprise class type applications. But one of the interesting things is that major insurers like AIG and WR Berkeley, they want to exclude AI related liability. So they basically are saying it's we have AI that can do a lot of stuff, and it's risky stuff, and we don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak. They don't know if it's worth taking the money from an OpenAI or a Google or a Microsoft or an Anthropic or whomever, a Perplexity. They don't know if it's worth taking the money from them to insure their product as compared to just not doing it, because their concern is that if something happens, it doesn't just happen to one company at a time. It literally could happen to everybody simultaneously, and we may not be able to cover all of the claims. So it may be more cost effective for us to just not actually offer that as a service. What do you guys think about that?
Insurance company, man, they don't care about nobody, boy. Don't care about nobody. They're like, you need insurance, but if we don't want insurance, give you insurance, we just ain't. And then too bad.
Literally.
It's crazy. But that's all. I just want to that little quick.
Yeah, the insurance industry is such a scam. It's crazy. However, with the sort of propensity, if you will, for AI to get things wrong, it's not necessarily, I mean, I guess it's just prudent on their part to want to slow their roll or pump their brakes a little bit as it relates to insuring these companies, because you're basically assuming the risk of something going wrong. Like, when you have car insurance, you're assuming the risk if something goes wrong. But I think with AI companies, at least now, with how much they get things wrong,
How
you're
fast?
yes, you're assuming the risk when something goes wrong. And I think it's a subtle difference, because I think there just something will go wrong, and they will get something, there'll be a false positive return on a query or whatever that looks like. And it's just like, am I giving insurance to something I know is going to break eventually? Like I said, people have car insurance and never get in an accident their entire lives, and they're paying this money and they never actually get in an accident. You never need to collect on anything. You never need to file a claim. That can happen. That's not going to happen with an AI company. Like, they're going to get something wrong at some point. Somebody's going to sue them. Like, it's going to happen. So are you staking your, are you willing to stake that risk, basically? And I'm not mad that they're not, because that just wouldn't make sense. It's just not good business for the insurance company.
To spend money.
Right. And just take the L. Like we
Right.
know we gonna take this L, but we just gonna take this L. And I'm now, granted, maybe you get away with charging them such an exorbitant premium that it'll make up for whatever you have to end up paying out on the back end. But and you hope that their particular LLM doesn't break and doesn't hallucinate to the point where somebody needs to sue them. But you're pretty much absorbing a sure risk, an
Mhm.
assured risk
Uh-huh.
when you're doing this, and you're not you're not necessarily doing that in other instances.
Right.
So insurance companies, and this is what they do. We're going to take a lot of money from a lot of people. So that if something really catastrophic happens to one or two of them, we can make them whole. They had insurance, therefore they're going to get it. But the problem comes in is that when we insure a lot of people for a lot of money, and a lot of people want a lot of money for things that they were insured on, that's not good business for us. Think about it like this. I think these insurance companies are looking at AI companies, like insurance companies, are looking at people who live in floodplains and live in places where we have hurricanes. And to bring things back to climate science, insurance companies are show enough doing it. They can figure out, like, hey, you know what? We're having 100-year storms like every 3 to 7 years. So if we're insuring people who live in these places that we need to every 3 to 7 years rebuild their homes, let me pull the calculator up. Yeah, we lose money on that. We're not insuring them anymore. So they're making decisions on, we don't make enough money to insure
Right.
these people. We don't make enough money to insure these companies. And I think it is simply that, to where their concerns are that it's not like if you install this software in a company and that company has a problem. It's like everybody's using these LLMs. So many people could have an issue that we could have so many claims all at one time that we can't financially pay all that out. So we want to make sure that we're, number one, going to make money, because that is the golden rule. Our goal here is to make money, not to pay money out. That's, like I heard somebody say that insurance is not really insurance, it's insure once. We'll let your house blow down once, but your premiums will go up so much that you better hope that you build it to where it never blows down again, because we're not going to come out that kind of money a second time. So I
Ain't
think
that such a scam? But then
it
in
is.
your case, Stephanie, you say the lady or the person who got this car insurance, never got an accident, never had nothing catastrophic happen, but has paid into this insurance hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? You
For
don't hear the
dec-
insurance like for decades. You don't hear
Mm.
the insurance companies like, "Hey, man, we understand you was paying for us for 20 years. You done paid out $300,000, $400,000. You ain't used us not one time. So here's all your money back."
right.
But on the flip
Or
side,
not even all,
it's
some,
Mhm.
right,
a
right,
little
right.
bit. Just
But
give me
not
a little bit.
but on
Yeah.
the flip side, they're like, "Hey, man, if we got to spend too much money because you may call us for our money back, nah, we cutting that out." My thing is, it's like, again, this is fairness, right? And I don't know why I think fairness should be introduced into something like an
Into
insurance
Silly man.
company.
capitalism.
Silly man.
You're looking for fairness in capitalism. Good luck with
Right,
that.
right, right. But it's just like, come on, man, insurance company. It's like there's got to be a better way to regulate these insurance companies. If I must have insurance to do whatever, drive a car, live in a house, whatever the case may be, then if I'm regulated to do it, then insurance companies, they have to, why are they not as regulated as tightly as people are? I know the answer to that, just rhetoric, but I'm just saying in general, it's like, just y'all don't this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Uh,
no, it's crazy. So, Rob, do we know what these AI companies are going to do or intend to do as a result of, like, are they just, like, how are they going to mitigate this issue, basically, of not being able to get insurance?
that's a good question. I think that some of the companies are so big that they can throw a big enough check at an insurance company. It's like, yeah, oh, Google, we got you, because you're giving us literally $100 billion to solve this problem. I think it's going to be the smaller companies that could have the issue. I also think that this issue is not an issue that's going to be a long-term issue. I think it is a right now issue. I do believe it's funny. We are just now 3 years into Chat GPT 3.5 being released to the world, to where we now have to have a conversation about AI every single week on the show. It's only been 3 years since that thing came out. We think we have been talking about AI like we're talking about it now for the last 15, 20 years. That's not the case. It's been a 3-year thing. um these bots are basically so much better than they were even when ChatGPT 3.5 came out. Definitely when one came out all the way back in 2020, that once again no one ever heard of that because it didn't do what it does today. I think that in time, you're going to see these things be so good and they'll be so tested that the companies will come back in and say, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and take this money because these things haven't had a serious fault that would have cost us money. We may have to do insurance, we may have to do a claim here and there, but the here and there, we still make money if we're going to all of these companies and getting just ginormous checks from them. So I think that it is a problem that it's a problem for right now, probably not a problem in 2029, 2030. And then I think that eventually the big companies, I mean, these are $1 trillion organizations. They're like, we got it. If we cause a problem, we'll just fix it. Or we'll restructure, we'll go bankrupt, and the name will be bad, so we won't be Google when we come back. We'll be something else when we come back. If it's that bad to where, I can't even imagine a company the size of Google, anything bad enough happening to it to where it could go away, or Apple going away, or Intel is now as big as they are going away simply because something bad happens. So I think that this is really a short-term issue because eventually these companies are going to say, oh, wait a minute, we can make a whole lot of money insuring these things because they have gotten better and they don't fault as much as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
So we just gotta wait for the meantime. Is that what it is?
Pretty much.
And hope that these things don't fail.
Hope
in our
right now they're hoping the hurricane don't come. They're
right.
literally hoping the hurricane doesn't come. And to be clear, they have not stopped insuring companies. They're just tossing around the idea. A lot of this is basically, hey, you know what happened is that we need to increase your premium by 1,000% because we're just not going to insure you if you don't. Good luck. We'll talk to you in a couple of years when you get this stuff figured out. That's part of this as well. I think the insurance companies are like, we're just not going to do it until it's cost effective for us to do it, and then we'll be back in. If it was cost effective for insurance companies to continue to offer flood insurance to people in floodplains, if it was still cost effective for them to offer fire insurance to places where there are brush fires literally every year, they would continue to do it. But right now it's not, so therefore they're not, because it wants capitalist society. If we can make money, we'll make money. And I hate to sound cynical when I say that. I don't think hopefully I'm not sounding cynical. It's just, that's just how capitalism works. It's like, we're going to make money when we can make money. Everything else be damned.
Definition.
So this wasn't necessarily a story. It's just something that kind of happens every year.
Oh, are you about to get into something else? We had an hour.
Terrance be watching that clock,
man,
boy.
it's sitting right there. It's like 53 minutes.
No,
58,
we're not at an hour. That is just when we started the live. We still have, so we still got a few minutes. I just want to ask, because it is Black Friday is coming up. We're gonna do this. And last week's show was short. We only did 52 minutes last week. So I just want to ask, are either of you picking up any holiday tech because these sales that are happening on Black Friday and Cyber Monday?
Nope.
Okay, I'm the only one. I'm picking up some stuff.
I don't have any plans to get anything.
I'm power to the people.
No,
we blacking out.
Right. Ain't there supposed to be a blackout starting tomorrow? What is it, the 25th through December 9th or something like that?
I think it's certain places. I'm not going to not get folks stuff that they said.
Honestly, like. I don't need anything, and I've never. I mean, every now and again you pick up a little something here or there just because it looks cool and you just want to try it out or whatever. But I do tend to buy new tech when I need to buy new tech, when it needs to be upgraded. We talked about phones earlier. I only get phones every other iteration, and I may not even do that this year. Or next year, when the 18 comes out, I may or may not even get that. So yeah, I don't necessarily walk in a store and play around with something new, but I don't tend to buy new technology unless I absolutely need it. And I've already identified a specific use case for that thing. Although I will say, I say all that, and that Osmo Pocket was kind of an impulse buy.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
right.
use it as much as I thought I was going to, but it was a super cool gadget, and I'm not mad I have it. I will definitely use it when I can, but by and large, I'll say I only tend to buy new tech when I actually need it. So I can't think of anything I actually need currently. Um, I mean, I am going to be moving downstairs shortly. I'm in the process of a very expensive renovation, so that's where my Christmas
Mhm.
budget has gone. My from me to me Christmas present. So there might be one or two sort of tech enabled things I add down there, but not much. I'm not a fan of connecting everything to Alexa and Google Home and a hub and all. I'm not a fan of that. So yeah, I won't be purchasing too
There's a
much.
few things. My wife has a Surface tablet. It's like the real small Surface tablet. It came out probably 7 years ago. She's had it for a minute, and it only runs Windows 10, so she can't upgrade it to Windows 11. And she's been saying for the last little while, like, this thing is just slow, because she's using it to do like some Zoom calls and stuff like that. It's like, man, this thing takes forever to do whatever I want to do on it. So I was like, okay, she wants to get a new tablet. She wants to get a tablet like mine. So I was looking around just to see if the Galaxy Tab, like the Galaxy Tab S10 Fun Edition, is what I think I want to pick
Mm-hmm.
up for her. So I'm picking one of those up. And here's how they do it. They've been raising the prices probably for the last 6-7 weeks, so that they can drop them back down to what the prices were when Black Friday gets here. But right
Basically.
now, as I'm looking at it, because I am not a buy stuff in July for Christmas type of thing, I'm looking at Christmas presents now. It's like, okay, I can save like I think $60 on it. So I literally put it in my cart today. It should be here, I think, actually by Wednesday, and like a keyboard cover and stuff like that. For me personally, you mentioned your Osmo Pocket. I
Mm-hmm.
have been using my Osmo Pocket a lot. It is so much easier than carrying around a DSLR with two or
Oh,
three lenses. It's
absolutely.
so easy to, I mean, they call it the Pocket because you literally can put it in your pocket. It is as small as a cell phone.
But I don't use it like I don't have a occasion to use it instead of my phone.
Hmm.
That's the thing. Like I don't shoot a ton of content with my camera, especially outside. I don't take my camera out to shoot content. Anything I'm shooting out in the wild is probably going to be on my phone. And I would take the Osmo if I wanted a second camera. But yeah, I just haven't done that in a while. So
So yeah, it has replaced my
mhm.
iPhone as my primary. I use the camera on the Osmo more than I use the camera on my. That's not true. I use the camera on the Osmo more to do camera things than I use the
Mhm.
camera on my iPhone to actually do photography or videography type stuff. Like, I'll take a picture of a receipt with my camera. I'm not gonna pull an Osmo out to take a picture of a receipt when the application is on the phone that I want to put the receipt into. So I do use that camera a lot. But the reason I'm bringing that up is that I find myself having situations where, oh man, I wish I would have had the setup to do it like a quick podcast with somebody that you're having, when I'm out in the field. And it's like,
Mhm.
I'm never going to walk around with with a $3,000 camera and another $2,000 worth of lenses in a bag everywhere I go. I'm just simply not going to do that. But I tend to carry around like a shoulder bag or something like that, and that Osmo Pocket fits just perfect in there. What I don't have for the Osmo Pocket is a bunch of different microphones. So it came with one. I got the developer, so I got the same one you got. So it has one
Mhm.
microphone, but I'm not one of the people who's going to be holding the microphone and then passing this little thing that's the size of a 9-volt battery around to have conversations. So what I decided I wanted to get for myself is, just another set of these DJI microphones, so that I will have 3 of them, so that when I do, come up on someone, they're so small and they're so portable and easy to carry. I literally can just keep them
Right.
in a bag. So whenever the idea of, we should record this is a really good conversation. Let's just record it and see where it goes. I will have everything that I need to do that literally on me, and I won't have to go out to the car. I won't have to go back home. I won't have to go to Best Buy and buy something to try to do something when it's impromptu, because if I got to go do all that, it's never going to be impromptu. It'll be because I thought to go buy something to give myself the ability to do it. So I'm looking to see, can I get me like one of these DJI microphones on the cheap for Cyber Monday or Black Friday or whatever the case may be.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So with that, y'all, it's we are, as Terrance said, we're past the top of the hour, but we're probably about an hour into this show. So let's go ahead and close it out. Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, or check out my website at stephaniehumphrey.com and sign up for my newsletter.
And you can find me all over the internet, with the exception of Black Friday, at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I'm at Robb Dunewood on all the things. I'm also at the Tech John on all the things. And because I didn't say this earlier, I'll say it now. If you would like to support the Tech John, you can do so by heading over to thetechjohn.com/Patreon. We've got multiple tiers over there, any one of which get you access to our live stream and after party. I'm about to go into the after party in about 30 seconds. So once again, if you'd like to support the show, head over to thetechjohn.com/Patreon. And until we meet again in a week's time, peace.